was always debated. It really was. I mean, for a long period of time, and it's still debatable, is it not, whether or not baseball is successful here in South Florida. Would you say? I mean, the only people so far that I think it's been really successful for were Laurie and Sampson.
Yes.
Who cashed in billions. Everybody else has left here kicking and screaming, have they not? The son-in-law and Pops, who, have went from buying Dayglow Jesus paintings to all of a sudden he's in the bidding at Southeast for a Van Gogh.
Exactly.
It's an original there, Jeff. Okay.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here. When we were a little slow peeling ourselves off the mat due to slight technical glitch to begin the program. But we are here and in full force and couldn't be happier than to be with you. Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubitz. Many things to get to as part of the preliminaries here before we get into the meat of the matter. And once again, South Florida, very much the center of attention of the sporting world. I'm trying to find the stats here in my New York Post. I read the article about the Lionel Messi unveiling yesterday and what it means and what it entails and all of this stuff here. And it is pretty incredible that this particular caliber of player, I mean, talking about a generational player, one that some consider to be, Lubie, I don't know, is this a fair statement? Oli Pele, the greatest player of all time? Is that what we have snared here to this minor league soccer club in South Florida? The greatest fucking player of all time. We have him here. Would this be like Shohei Ohtani signing with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp in the Marlins organization and saying, I don't want to go to the bigs. No, don't want any part of that. I want to stay right here. I'm going to hit 90 home runs this season. Unbelievable. Or maybe LeBron saying, well, Bronny didn't get drafted, so I guess I'm going to go play in Istanbul next year. What? You still can play at the highest of levels. Maybe only for a couple of more years, but, it's a little too soon to go ahead and sell out and start playing with the Globetrotters. No, Messi, what are you talking about? All right, we'll get into that. A couple of things, some details to clean up. I have a new coffee cup here, and I have to display it. This was to preserve our friendship and long-time relationship with the lovely and talented Leslie Visser. Can you read that, Lubie? I don't know if you can read that.
I can. Maybe some people can. I can.
Okay. It's my new coffee cup. I'm obligated to drink from it at all times, even though I'm likely to spill it all over myself and look like Hank Goldberg at one of those shows that we used to do at the track with the 3 Live Jews. I'm a ray of sarcastic sunshine every single day.
Did she send it to you? You saw this, Mama.
We had dinner on Friday night.
Nice.
We had very nice dinner with the Mustang and a gentleman named Jeff, who turned out to be a great guy, was a stone degenerate. That was terrific, too, because, you're thinking, okay, well, I better upgrade my conversation. I'm in the company of Leslie Visser and a gentleman who's accompanying her to this dinner. And I'm thinking, this guy has to be just absolutely some kind of intellectual that I don't even know if I can match up on that plane, Mm-hmm. And sure enough, what does he want to talk to me about? The 5th that day at Saratoga. Nice meeting you. And wow, I mean, what a terrific guy he turned out to be. A total degenerate. Fantastic, man. He loved it there, too. Cafe Seville. We went to the Seville, which you really need to duck in there.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was great. And our waiter there, guy that we call Geach, CJ, I guess he goes by in general, but many aliases and nicknames and things of that nature. I don't know the guy's real name. I've known him 30 years.
Yeah.
Literally, I've followed this guy who's friends with a good friend of mine, and they were working together at a couple of restaurants, Joseph's back in the day, and September's. Do you remember? Ba-da-da-da-da-da. You were too young to remember September's, so were you not, Lubie? I doubt that you ever ventured in there.
I don't know.
I think it closed down when you were born. That's how long I've been on the circuit chasing women. Unbelievable. September's was a great pickup spot, though. And they had a band in there, a house band that was the epitome of what Tower of Power represented in terms of brass bands and rock and roll. It was fantastic. Great dance club, nice restaurant. And Geach was there. And that's where I first met him. Then there was a place called Joseph's. It was a nice club also with outstanding food. Mayo would have loved this place. The tortellini Alfredo was one of my favorites. Nice appetizer there. Got you off to a good start. But, yeah, and now at Seville for many, many years, Cafe Seville. It was fantastic. And, look, you're never going to get an argument. If Mayo and I were ever going to agree on anything about food, it would be that Cafe Seville is a stand-up. Well, we agree on a few things, right? Because we're lucky. I mean, frequent some of the same joints on a regular basis. But this was great. But a degenerate atmosphere pervading the table's conversation as Geach was telling me, we're thinking, hey, where's the fish? And meanwhile, this guy's telling me like a 20-minute story about how he blew a pick six. But a lot of fun. All right. So would you say that that is a true statement? I'm a ray of sarcastic sunshine every single day. Because I think the sarcasm is really going to be dripping today. No,
Okay.
Lubie?
Okay.
There's no choice because of the events that are going on. There were some spectacular things happening. Now, the Degenerate Weekend was terrific, too, for our good buddy Big Rich. And I have to congratulate Big Rich, whom you know. And I don't know. Yes, you do know Nikki Beach because I think you were doing shows with me. This might have been before you were out there with me at the Ocean Manor Tiki Bar, Lubie, where Nikki Beach was the general manager at one point of the Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar.
Okay, I don't know.
And he's been in the restaurant business for a long time. Good guy, usually holding court there at the track, and a lot of people respect his handicapping opinion. I'm one of those guys that has been reluctant to get on board, right? Because when everybody's telling you, yeah, this guy never loses, it's like every time he talks to me, he loses. Or he's rooting home some chalk that I really don't care about. So, and you're thinking, really? You're cheering and screaming and you beat me with that 4-5 shot? You have to be kidding me. Although he's not really a chalk player. I can't put that label on him. He's not one of these disgusting guys that's always screaming for the favorite. Like Mr. Chalk, who I see at the Borgata all the time. He's always in that front row seat. This guy, he's kind of the Northeast version of Larry the Leaper, this guy we call Mr. Chalk. And he's at every gambling venue there, which there are many in Atlantic City. But everywhere you go, here's Mr. Chalk. And what is he doing, Lubie? Screaming for the chalk. Come on with that one. Come on with that one. You're like, the one's 3-5. I mean, if you're going to win with the horse, just be quiet about it. Yeah, I had the one. That's all you need to say. Yeah, I had the one. That's all I had. I knew he couldn't lose. You don't have to be screaming like, yeah, come on with that one. I told you he couldn't lose. Mr. Chalk. Why do we resent these people? Because they're winning and we're losing while they're playing the favorites?
Okay, that's the thing is, look, as you said, who was it? Hank gave you shit one time when you won with the
Mike
chalk.
Nyman gave me that tip horse, a first-time starter, Russian Sweetie Pie. I still
Hey,
remember it
you
like
know-
it was yesterday.
I mean, one horse can win. Like, as long as you win with the chalk, it's fine. But again, you don't brag about it. Like,
Yeah,
everyone could have had the chalk. It's the favorite. Duh. Thank you. You didn't do
it's
anything.
like you bet the Bulls to win the championship.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you. The Nuggets beat the Heat.
Woo! The
Everyone-
Nuggets would have been at least a reasonable call this year because people, at first, they didn't even think they were going to win going into the playoffs.
And going into the finals, the Nuggets were the overwhelming favorite with Heat Butler on one leg and like the Heat barely getting past the Southern Times having a 3-0 lead. I mean,
If you predicted the Nuggets would sweep,
that's fine. Yeah, but okay. If you predicted the Nuggets would win the series and they won the series, you can be happy you got your money, but you to crow about it's fucking weird.
to rub it in somebody else's face, I guess that's what it is. When you're running up there with the ticket, look at that, I had 20 to win on a one. It's like, good, you got back $32. Now go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
Go downstairs, buy me a Coke here.
It's like you with your Powerball. I won. Yeah, but you lost $20.
I'm in again tonight, by the way, 900 million. And I think this is going to be my last show because I don't feel so good. I don't know why. I mean, don't you have to go to some obscure hillbilly convenience store or country store out there in the middle of nowhere to buy a winning Powerball ticket?
It's not even like a South Florida thing because
No.
you have
You're not getting a winning ticket with a ramble, like whatever. You just take the quick pick jumble at Publix. You're not getting it, right? They know. They're laughing. When this woman took my $20, she said, you could have fed some starving children with this, you asshole. But instead, you're buying this Powerball ticket.
Yeah,
You've been in here the last 6 times they've had this giant jackpot, and you're down like $1.20 going into my accounts. My little $20 purchase, Libby. And then some schmuck wins in, some
stupid-ass town.
outskirts of Chicago, in the middle of Winnebunka or whatever, and, had one $2 ticket. I played my mother's birthday.
Exactly.
Oh, Christ.
Fuck yourself. You don't even know what to do with this money, you scumbag.
900 million you're going to give to this hillbilly?
Like, what are you going to do?
Speaking of hillbillies, too, I had to get this in because what exactly is your man Ron DeSantis, Lubie, doing about the Florida homeowners insurance crisis
Oh, it's
and
fun.
insurance crisis in general. He seems to be dedicating every waking hour to finding a solution to it because he's all about the people of South Florida and Florida in general. Nobody can buy a policy anymore. You may as well just go ahead and let it go. If it rains too hard, boom, let your roof cave in and just take your chances.
What do you mean? And now Farmers, which is actually a big insurance company, left. Like they're all
gone,
leaving.
man. Yeah. They can't wait to get out of here, man. They close the briefcase up on Friday and boom, we're down forever.
They're canceling people who have nothing wrong with their house, not even using the thing. We're on that citizen shit.
To these redneck hillbillies that voted DeSantis in by a 20-point margin.
Oh, because we don't want the Democrats.
Knowing he wasn't even going to be around, Lubie. I mean, that he was going to run for president and disgrace himself in that fashion. Did they think, oh, geez, I mean, I guess they don't care, right? Do they have homeowners insurance in Pensacola? No. When those towns go down, it's over. My God, what is this schmuck doing? Has he even mentioned it? Nothing.
Oh, no, he doesn't bring up anything. All he does is bring up the stuff that aren't problems. Trains, which
drag queens.
problem. Cuba, which really has nothing to do with us every day. Immigration of Texas, which again, I don't know how that affects us here.
I'm glad he shut down these drag queen shows. Did that at the expense of maybe saving me $10,000 on my homeowners insurance next year. That's great. All right. Enough of the politics. I can't even get into it. It's so stupid. It's ridiculous. Congratulations, though. I meant to say Big Rich and Nikki Beach in a handicapping masterpiece.
Okay.
Nick comes up with a horse that pays $94 in the 10th race at Saratoga. Actually, this wasn't like an all ticket. He really just liked the horse. And when he mentioned it, and it was great seeing Andy out there at the Harris Casino on Saturday. Nice. He made a public appearance, Andy. Yeah.
Nice. Look at him.
It was funny. I mean, it was kind of like watching a race because an ambulance follows him as he pulls into the parking lot. And they got like a fucking gurney right next to him as he's sitting there at the bar. No, he looked in good shape and, seemed to be in great spirits. Andy. I think he got out okay. I'm not sure. I might have been rooting against him in one race because he was looking at a photo and he kept insisting that maybe the 8 got beat for second, which I needed. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, this poor guy. I mean, he's about to get beat by this horse by the smallest of margins. But I'm happy because I'm cashing, so I don't care that Andy's had all these health problems. It's like, get out of my way. I'm going to the window, kid. These guys come up with the pick 5, the late pick 5 on Saturday at Saratoga. $23,000, Lubie. They walked down in there with like 12 times a piece.
Really?
Yeah. 12 apiece, Big Rich.
Oh, my God. I could have used that.
Well, we got to applaud that. That is fantastic. See, that's what it should be all about, right? Now, do you root for your friends? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In that spot. I don't mind that I didn't have a piece of it. I did catch a small piece of, I got back like $200 on the exacta when Nikki Beach's $94 horse beat the 1-5 shot that I had kind of conceded the race to, and I was looking to the next race, which I would have lost anyway. So it worked out very well, that whole thing on Saturday. And let's see, I'd been gambling my birthday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, that was my 5th session as a 72-year-old. And it was my first winning one, although a marginal winning session, but a winning session nonetheless. And you know what happened? I changed up one thing in my superstitious approach to the walk of life.
Okay.
I walked on the outside of this one pole instead of the inside. I had had a nice run of luck walking to the inside, and then I was getting clobbered on a daily basis in virtually every aspect of my life. So I said, let me go to the outside today. And since then, things have been going smoothly, Lubie.
Nice.
Very, very smoothly. All right, let's get to the sporting stuff because there were a lot of things happening. I miss, and I shut down, you won't see the reflection on my TV screen in the picture there of Klitschko and Williams in the poster because no live European sporting action until later this week. My 3 favorite events to watch early morning, all time while doing morning drive radio, were the French Open. I'll rank them in order. I love the French Open. It's my favorite. I know Wimbledon is bigger and more prestigious, but I happen to like the French. I like dirt ball. I like the fact that they have these 30-shot rallies, which are more commonplace now on the grass of Wimbledon. Far more so than they used to be when you had like Patrick Rafter and he would serve one at 100 miles an hour, then run to the net and knock it in. And Martina had that, serve and volley style. That's not as prominent anymore on the weeds. Interesting that Joker is coached by one of the great proponents of that, Goran Ivanisevic, what was Ivanisevic all about, right? Giant serve, come to the net, and that's it. If you get it by him, good luck. Otherwise, you're probably losing every game that he served, and you're going to have to be very efficient at tiebreakers. But we've been touting this kid now for some time. It's not like we became aware of somebody that the rest of the world wasn't thinking was going to become a great player. And the upward potential for Carlos Alcaraz, wow. I mean, now has 2 slams. Think about this. Even with this second Grand Slam that he won in a dramatic 5-set just bloodbath at Wimbledon, outstanding caliber of play. And look, probably, we said this, and the professor can debate me about what the definition of mental toughness is all day long. And he may be right. Yeah, some guy that's trying to get into his car and operate it while confined to a wheelchair, and he has to go up, some, hydraulic ramp and then get in there. And, it takes, an hour for this guy just to make a couple of moves. And you want to cry. You have so much respect for the people and the effort that they're putting in. Yeah, that's mentally tough. No doubt about it. But in the sporting sense, it's a guy that just never cracks. And that's Djokovic. And again, further evidence statistically, he had won 15 straight tiebreakers in Grand Slam events. Tiebreaker, of course, for the uninitiated. Set goes to 6-6. Now decided by first 1 to 7, best of 2. And, which is the equivalent of playing maybe 2 games, sometimes 3. And breakers, if you get there with Djokovic, you're losing. That's it. You may as well just concede him the set. Listen, I don't even want to play the breaker. Save the energy. Just give it to Joker. I'll try and break a serve in the next set. So Alcaraz gets off to a slow start and is annihilated in the first set, 6-1. And you thought, oh, yeah, he's going to be overwhelmed. He had been beaten by Djokovic in the semifinals of the French Open in relatively easy fashion. And you would have thought, based on the 2 surfaces, I mean, this guy's from Spain, a la somebody else that also is spectacular on the red clay. Who would that be? Juan Rafa Nadal. He's kind of, I don't know if he's a Nadal protege, but he certainly is a prodigy in terms of being a child prodigy in the sport. 19 years old, he had already won the U.S. Open and was winning tournaments right and left. This was his 6th tournament victory. And that, was quite an accomplishment so far this year, including good runs. He wasn't in the Australian, got knocked out in the French in the semifinals against Djokovic. And after the 6-1 first set, you're thinking what, Lubie? Okay.
Yeah, he's in trouble. Yep.
Maybe he steals a set here, but, in general, nobody beats Djokovic. The guy's amazing. He was going for his 24th Grand Slam title, has the most of all time. And begs the question, Lubie, and I don't know that anybody, if you ask the average sports fan, hey, who are your top 10 athletes all time in terms of accomplishment, in terms of being the best in their sport, and maybe, even, in an all-time capacity, would you find many people would mention Novak Djokovic in their top 10? They would gravitate towards what? Maybe Jim Brown, Michael Jordan. You could, make a list of many, but would they put Djokovic in there? Because does he not deserve consideration, Lubie? Certainly in the top 10 of all time, maybe even top 5. Who's better than this guy? And look at the guys he was competing with. It's not like he was in there, in an era where it was just a soft era and there wasn't a lot of competition. I mean, you had 2 of the other possible greatest of all time players, Nadal and Roger Federer, plus a little sprinkling of Andy Murray when he was at the height of his game. And many, many others. I mean, men's tennis is extremely deep. We've been saying that forever. But is it possible that he is being overlooked whenever people say, hey, here are the top 5 athletes of all time? Should we not give serious consideration to Novak Djokovic? What do you think?
I don't know what they do with tennis because it's not like tennis isn't a demanding sport. It's weird.
These guys played 5 hours of tennis yesterday. Think about that.
Well, and
I go out there for an hour and a half, and I'm completely out of gas, man. I mean, you're ready to go face down on the pavement.
Well, you're constantly moving and you don't have teammates but even the best players ever have teammates that help them out and get wins in the other sports. Like tennis, it's all on you. We should give tennis players more credit. It's all on them. But I feel like they sort of get like Federer was considered the best ever. And when they do those lists, I don't know where they put him. Like you hear Ali, you hear Jordan, you hear like Jim Palmer, not Jim Palmer. What was the one that did everything?
Jim Brown, yeah.
Well, Jim Brown, obviously. But what was the guy that played all tons of sports. He played back in the day. I can't remember his fucking name, but like they'll go old school. They'll even say Babe Dietrich.
Oh, Jim Thorpe or something.
Jim Thorpe. They'll go Jim Thorpe because he played like 3 or 4 sports. It was all American, whatever. Right. Like you rarely hear them say anyone tennis. Like they don't really tennis.
Rod Laver doesn't get mentioned. Any of the greats of the past that certainly would be deserving of being in that conversation. I mean, but the way the sport is contested today, I mean, think about it, the physicality of it. To play 5 hours at that level, at that pace,
it's insane.
Is beyond remarkable just from an aerobic standpoint. I mean, and physical, capabilities. How many people could really do that? I know they're trained to do it, but that was remarkable what they were doing yesterday. 32 shot rallies. I mean, they played a 27-minute game during the course of that 5-setter. Alcaraz wins that, and wow! I mean, you talk about stamping yourself as the guy. 20 years old. I mean, handles it with nothing but class. Joker also. Remember when Joker was kind of derided for being a jerk, so to speak? And then people thought, I remember this was circulating, this kind of narrative, when he got knocked out of one of the Miami Opens many, many years ago, when it first started up on Key Biscayne, and a young Joker was knocked out. And at that time, he was known for doing like the impressions of different people and their styles of serving. I guess he was making fun of one of the Williams sisters or something. And everybody was like, look at that jerk, man, wasting his potential. Because he should be one of the greatest in the world, and he's goofing around. He's not serious about it. And here he is, must be 20 years later, and still is one of the most impossible guys to knock out of any competition that you could ever find. So I don't know. I don't think he gets enough credit, but this Alcaraz performance yesterday was just sensational. And even a couple of the shots that he made in the clinching game in the 5th set when he was serving for the match, and Joker hits some bullet that is about to go right by him as he's standing near the net. And he makes one of the most athletic moves that you've seen, saves the point, and then goes on to win the championship, which it's not easy to do. I mean, beating Djokovic probably is among the most difficult things to do in sport. If you look at the overall record, and marvelous stuff there yesterday. So I'll miss that, but we do have the British Open coming up this week, now known as just the Open, which is among my favorite events because I do love all of the subtle differences that there are between any other traditional tournament that you would see contested on American soil or maybe soil in any other country in the world. Because it really does look like the opening of a Dickens novel, doesn't it? When they show you the conditions. First, they have like the pre-done opening, and it's all spectacular, and it's sunshine, and it's Big Jack, and you got Tony Jacklin making a putt, and all of this tradition. Tommy Weisskopf with the little hat. And then Peter Alice saying, "Oh, it's a pity. His ball has worked its way into a watery grave." And you're like, are you going to use that line every single time, Pete? How many watery graves are there out there? I don't even see any water on the course. The only water out there is like the Irish Sea or whatever, which borders on the right. And if your ball's in there, you're fucked.
Honestly.
I'll still never forget this, though. I have a vivid image in my mind of when I duck hooked a ball. I was playing golf in Jamaica. My buddy and I were covering the World Series of Golf, which was staged by the NFL alumni at the time. There's a guy named Jack Maitland, and his son had innovated this whole idea about raising money for the pre-59ers who were getting screwed by the pension fund, which I believe that's been resolved. Was that resolved in an equitable fashion? The NFL pension going and drifting all the way back to the players that were in the league before 1959, which I guess not too many of them are around anymore, right? I mean, how many could you find? A handful of guys that played in the NFL before 1959? That would make them, like 90 years old, wouldn't it?
Pretty old. I mean, they exist. I mean, Mike Ditka, I know, was a big part of that, and I feel like he bled into their 50s. I don't know.
Ditka wasn't playing prior to 1959, was he?
I don't know. I'm trying to say.
You would have to be, what, if you were 20 years old when you were in the league? Which is young. I guess, guys were older then because they stayed in college for 4 years and they weren't letting high school kids play. So you were 22, 1959.
61 is when he started. So he just missed the 50s. But I remember he was a big part of.
Yeah, he was an advocate for it, for sure.
I just don't know how much they actually got. Like, I think they got a little bit, but I presume they didn't get what they wanted. You know, the NFL never gives in all the way, obviously.
No. Well, the NFL Alumni Association, sensitive to this issue, was trying to raise money through these golf tournaments, and they called it the World Series of Golf. Super Bowl of Golf, it was called.
Okay.
And so my friend Mike and I, we had this little video company, and we had connections there to the NFL alumni, and they had hired us to go out and make some videos of what was the culminating tournament in the Super Bowl of Golf, and it took place in Montego Bay, Jamaica, at the Wyndham Rose Hall Golf Course. So we're out there hacking around the day before the tournament, my friend and I. We were obsessed with golf at the time, having recently moved to Florida, and couldn't wait to get out there and try the course. And I remember duck hooking one into the ocean. One of the holes bordered the ocean. And I hit this wild duck hook into the ocean, and no longer than like 2 minutes later, a sort of heavy-set Jamaican woman comes running up to me and says, "Titleist?" And they actually had people that waited by the shore there and went in and dove and found a golf ball, and then they would sell it back to you.
Oh, okay.
That was the thing. But you're like, "Nah, that's not my fault. What are you talking about? I didn't want it there." I don't know whose that is. Anybody playing Titleist in this group?
Yeah, you're too black. I would never.
What was I doing with a Titleist golf ball anyway? Almost everything I played was with 2 red stripes
Rainbows.
and a big, big bite out of it. Unbelievable. But British Open's great. I mean, you go and look at the course there, and you can hear foghorns in the background. Pasty looking people lining the fairways there. Venus flytraps everywhere, gobbling up golf balls. You're slightly offline in the fairway, and literally in thatch. I mean, just the kind of brush that you see when you get to the outskirts of the beach, and they got this high, it almost looks like wheat growing. And they're thinking, well, what am I going to use to hit out of this shit? And then, the other great thing is a grounder is a good shot. That's where the duffer could actually have an edge over like Jordan Spieth, no? Because he's not inclined to just think, let me hit a grounder as hard as I can, and it's going to go all 300 yards over hill and dale and work its way onto the green at 15, which also happens to be the green at 13, and they're all in one big patch of grass there. It's a weird tournament. Can Rory McIlroy break through? He just won the Scottish Open.
There you go.
Reason I bring this up.
His
odds are pretty small. I mean, they're relatively light to win this. I think I go now. From now on, I'm betting Cameron Young in every tournament.
Okay.
He's usually about 20-1, and he's in there with a shot. Is he not, Cameron Young, in this particular thing? That is it Young or Smith? It's one of the Camerons.
Smith, that's the one.
Yeah, Cameron Smith.
What's called he won?
Cameron Young's an American, isn't he? Cam Smith is the guy with the mullet.
Yes.
Who's a guy that looks like he wants to be an Australian country singer. That's Smith, right? Okay.
Cam Smith is the one that won the major. I forgot which one it was. U.S. Open.
Yeah, and defected to live.
And to live, yes. The one with the fucking hair that looks like he's from Georgia.
Scab live scumbag, in other words, is what you're saying, Lubie. Can we root for a guy like that if you got money on him? If you have money on him, do you root for DeSantis to win the presidency? I don't know. What do you think?
I wouldn't put the money on him.
Can you possibly justify it? Here, let me see. Cam Smith, 16-1.
Nice. Oh, that's
what do you think?
You're
getting 20-1 on your man Ricky Fowler. Who else can do it, right? I mean, looking down the list there, Morikawa, is he capable of winning the British Open? Does he have that kind of game? What do you need to be able to do there? I mean, you have to be able to sort of navigate this crazy links course where you're hitting the ball. That was another thing about that course in Jamaica. You might hit 9-iron off the tee to get into the perfect spot and then hit a 3-wood to get to the green.
Dustin Johnson? Does this feel like a Dustin Johnson spot? Like, is he more of a conservative?
It doesn't seem like he gives a shit, does it?
I don't know. That's the thing. He and then one of your European.
DeChambeau's 40-1. Can he do it? Nah. I mean, there's nothing to block those drives. He probably out-hit the greens. I don't think they're long enough to contain his drives.
I'm thinking Koepka, Johnson, and then one of your your European, whatever.
Tommy Fleetwood Mac, is he do?
One of your European schmanks is where a Schwartz.
How about Patty Harrington at 100-1?
Yes, exactly. Yeah? Some random ass European.
Take a flyer on that. Louis, we stays in his 80-1, and he's finished though. Most of the guys that defected to the Live Tour were shot fighters at this stage. So I don't know. That starts up on Thursday. That would be my fourth. Well, a third favorite event that comes on early in the morning, where you have one eye on the camera and then one eye on the screen. There. Oh man, did he miss that? Very good. I had Jordan Spieth to win the Open at 14-1 that year, and it's a well-documented story now here on the show. As the professor had Matt Kuchar at like 45-1. It looks like he's got the tournament in the bag until they make probably one of the screwiest rulings I've ever seen in any sport, when they allowed Spieth to extract his ball from being embedded in a garbage dump and put it in the middle of the fairway somehow, while only traversing one club length in terms of alleviation of the problem that was set up by the fact that somebody had dumped a bunch of garbage there. Unbelievable. So that's coming up on Thursday, and we'll see what happens with that. Wimbledon, fantastic. Alcaraz, great win. Rory McIlroy, is he going to go back-to-back? He wins the Scottish Open by going birdie. Is he set up? He hasn't won a major since 2014. This was a guy that was going to run away and challenge Big Jack.
Yeah, it was going to be him and Spieth were going to be the next generation. That's so funny. They both fell off a fucking cliff. Like where they're still there making money, but they don't win anything. I guess he just won this Fakakta tournament.
McIlroy's been knocking on a door up and down a little bit. He's had a couple of poor tournaments, but for the most part, he's been very good this year, I want to say. Rory McIlroy. Your guy, Ricky Fowler's the guy that made the resurgence out of nowhere. A guy with supposed all this potential that everybody thought was going to be brilliant and didn't do squat for a long period of time. And all of a sudden, he's knocking on the door. John Rahm seems to have fallen off after a brilliant start to the season, huh? You can kind of bypass the Romsky. So why don't you fire off a couple of hundred at 12-1?
Yeah,
John Rahm. Exactly. Now that I've said that.
Well, you make a good odds on him, and he's the kind of guy that is capable of doing it. That's who you want in a tournament like this.
Our friend Lois says that's seagrass. Yeah, that's what it would be, right? Like big thatch.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like you're in the fucking rainforest.
Guy hits a perfect drive, like with a 4-iron, some club that nobody ever takes out of the bag. He's got 4-iron here, and he's going to hit a low line drive, maybe a little bit of a cutter. Okay. And it's perfect. I mean, the trajectory is great. The people that designed that flaming puck, remember back in the day? From Fox Sports when they were televising hockey and they were trying to convince people that you could watch it on TV, but nobody could see the puck. So they had that stupid thing that followed it, and the puck would be in the net, but according to the line, it was in the teeth of some nun who was sitting in the fourth row there of the second deck. And that's the same thing when they follow those golf shots, isn't it? Where they follow it with the red line or whatever. Sometimes it's yellow. And, you see the shot going and it's, taking a banana ride over to the right. And you're wondering, which one of those condos is this thing going to, shatter a window in? And, then it's in the middle of the fairway. You're like, wait a minute, how is that possible? So, anyway, and the ball, if it even, by just bizarre bad luck, it'll roll into something that nobody in their right mind could ever get out of. And those bunkers, too, right? Just left over from World War II. You can see a guy with a little German helmet on going, try to hit out of here. Schweinhund.
Exactly.
No, it's crazy. You're expecting like Vic Mara to come running down today with a grenade, telling Little John, hey, listen, storm that farmhouse with the Jerry's in it. Too bad you missed that combat series. All of those references have become totally meaningless and arcane. Speaking of, meaningless, and this is how do we address this, the whole Messi mania thing, Lubie? Did you actually go? You were saying you were going to go. Now, it would have been a disaster because it was pouring rain out, and yet all of these schmenks showed up there to see Messi be unveiled, which we already know what Messi looks like. He unveiled himself at a local supermarket as he was shopping at Publix for frozen pizza, this cat.
And no one gave a shit.
Nobody cares. Nobody even recognized him.
No one has any idea that he's Lionel Messi.
They didn't care. Snap 1,000 pictures. There's no security around this guy, nothing.
He's getting like 4 boxes of cereal. He's fucking around, and no one has.
He's waiting 12 deep in the 10 items or less line because, these old bags are in there with the shopping carts, and they have 37 items. But because 27 of them are the same one, they figure, hey, that counts as one. Like, I don't know about that, lady. I don't know who taught you math, but that looks to me like you're buying groceries for the month. Crazy, but nobody cared. All right, so what do we make of this, Lubie? Is this not the equivalent, literally, of Otani going to play not in Japan even, but like in Korea.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like even if it's like one of the shitty like Premier League teams, they're still in the Premier League. Like this is not like even if you went to like LeBron went to I don't even know who sucks on the Pistons. They're still in the NBA. They're still they get the same TV dollars. They get the same contracts. Like they get some primetime games. Like this isn't that. This is him going to like you said like, and it's not even like going to what's a good Serbia or something where you get like some decent basketball. It's like going to Turkey where it's like fourth rate basketball.
Yeah, where they're throwing bottles at you. I mean, if you miss a free throw. Incredible. All right, so Messi, a World Cup champion for Argentina and 7-time Ballon d'Or.
Yes, player of the year.
Is that the big balloon? Oh, that's the golden balloon. That's a golden ball, right?
The golden ball. Player of the year.
Ballon d'Or. Yeah. Winner as the world's best player in a given year is joining a club that has the fewest points in the MLS and is mired in an 11-match winless streak.
Yes.
I mean,
he's already going
he may as well have signed with the Generals, literally, the Washington Generals.
Yeah, he's not only going to a shitty league, he's going to the worst team in that shitty league.
What kind of scam is this? I mean, honestly.
Shirley couldn't comprehend it. Shirley, he's the one athlete in the world she knows, and she was dumbfounded that he's coming, and she couldn't understand that not only he was coming, like that he was coming here.
This is Danny Almonte at 14 going out there and pitching for Staten Island against a bunch of nervous 11-year-olds that haven't even popped their first zit yet. All right, so here's a story. 11-match winless streak. Inter Miami opened the season with 2 victories and has gone 3-14-3 since.
Yes.
It has 12 MLS matches left this season and is 12 points out of a playoff spot. So it's going to take a ton of wins just to have a chance to make the postseason. Well, what kind of guy? I mean, look, I know he wants to live here in Miami and he's getting all the money. And is the league going to fold as a result of this deal? I'm more inclined to believe that than it's going to take off and have just some unparalleled success.
No. I mean, the attention.
They filled the stadium last night in pouring rain to watch this guy just walk up a ramp and say something in Spanish.
No, I mean, they've sold out every game here. On the road, they're going to sell every game out. The hope is that he can look. He's bringing 2 dudes with him that have played a lot of European soccer. Morris,
but they're like 40 years old too.
They're old, but again, remember they're old, but they're playing MLS, so it should mitigate it a little bit.
But what kind of joke is this that they're trying to perpetrate upon us by saying that this is actually going to be competition that Lionel Messi belongs in?
No, that's the idea. Look, if he's able to dominate over there, why can't he dominate here?
It would be like putting a joker out at the Pompano Municipal Tennis Open, which is open to anybody in the city, right, that has a membership there. Is he going to win it? Yeah, of course he should. He should, never lose a point.
Well, that's the thing is it's like you assume he's going to dominate. Some people don't. Like we don't know if he's going to. I'm curious if one guy. Remember, it's soccer. Like one guy you don't usually see just take over like he's LeBron. So
yeah.
That's the question: is can one guy in soccer, if it's a shitty league, just dominate? I mean, we'll see.
I think we're looking at Victor Kozlov II here. Where the guy just kind of skates around and you're thinking, well, that guy looks like he can play a little bit, but never shoots the puck. How many penalty kicks is Messi going to amass, though? What is the record for penalty kicks taken by a player in the MLS? I think if you took the combined number of any given season, you will see Messi getting penalty kicks in that ratio, and probably exceeding anything that we've ever seen before. I don't know about this. I mean, look, we have our standard disclaimers that we have to issue because we do believe that soccer, I don't know if you're convinced of this yet, Lubie, but I am, was a sport that was designed by a mutant society, a primitive mutant society, that there's no reason to play a sport like this and not just grab the ball, pick it up, and throw it, which they only do when it's out of bounds. And even then, they have to do it in some stupid fashion, right?
Yes, you have to have your legs together and be
Two
over.
hands over the head here, like your Guy Rogers shooting a free throw. Unbelievable. No, he didn't shoot free. He shot free throws underhand, but he used to have that 2-hand setter there, Guy Rogers. Ugliness. Well, what do you think? I mean, do we really consider this a big deal, or is this the biggest hoax that's ever been perpetrated upon the American public? Messi to the MLS.
I think it's a big deal. I think he's going to have enough talent where they should win. We're trying to get Austin on this week so he can be brutally honest with us about how it should work, not how it could work. We'll see then. We'll see what happens if it actually puts the MLS and the Miami franchise on the map at all. Right now, it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of sort of white noise. We'll see if it becomes.
I think they have him in an above-ground pool, spinning a soccer ball in his nose as he comes up for air and maybe to catch an occasional mackerel that somebody's throwing in there. No, I mean, they've turned this guy into a circus act. It's crazy.
Anything. He's chosen this. I mean, he could have gone wherever he wanted. He wanted to be here.
Who wouldn't choose this, right? I mean, if you were a guy that really didn't want to compete, you knew you were better than everybody else anyway, but you were sick of getting kicked around in Barcelona. So why not come to like a minor league where you can't do anything but excel, where you're literally going to be toying with the competition? Who in this league even comes close to comparing with the accomplishments of Messi on the world stage of soccer? Nobody, right? Who is that? Is that guy still playing? Landon Donovan? No, he's a commentator now.
Yeah, he hasn't played for years.
Guy, I mean, that's as close as we came to having any kind of soccer royalty here in this country, is it not? Outside of the women's teams, and they're far more popular and well known, the women's teams, than the men are. Even if it does, as the professor alluded to, take finally becoming tired enough at Megan Rapinoe to just start screaming at the television set, "Shut up!" every time she opens her mouth. Yeah, who else? I mean, Donovan had a commercial there. He had a Lexus commercial briefly. And that's as much acclaim as anybody's achieved. So what won't Messi be endorsing, too, in the United States of America? What do you think, Lubie? I mean, and does he learn enough English to kind of pull a Sammy Sosa? Is he going to be virtually on every commercial that we see from now on? I mean, how is he not? Maybe he's already got endorsement affiliations. Is there a beer that he is a sponsor of?
I think he's involved with everything. I mean,
he's not doing Modelo or Corona or one of those beers. No, is there an Argentinian beer?
Oh yeah, I mean, most countries have their own beer. I'm sure he has whatever he wants. He's fucking Messi. Like, I'm sure the money, like, that's the thing. Like, the money's not like, oh my God, he's turning off 100 million. It's like, it's fucking Messi. Like, they came up with deals that LeBron doesn't get. Like, LeBron doesn't get rev share. Like,
LeBron the first guy to get into that was Reggie Jackson. It was an astounding development at the time when Reggie signed with the Angels, and they had a stipulation that after they reached a certain attendance figure, he would get 50 cents for every patron that came to the ballpark. And that was revolutionary, as I recall. I mean, where people are like, what? He wants a piece? And I would imagine, he did well with that because those games were well attended. Almost like, is there any other jersey? Is there anybody with like a Mike Moustakas jersey that goes to Angels games, Louie? I was watching the game, I guess it was on last night, right? And Ohtani was DHing. And he, I mean, everybody in the house has an Ohtani jersey on. Every single person, the Jews, the Irish, the Italians, a lot of Japanese influence there in the Los Angeles area. And you would imagine, there were many Asian people there donning Ohtani jerseys. Is there any other jersey being sold? I guess that would be something, right? If you had a piece of that, if you were Messi, does he get in on that action also? Name, image, and likeness? Because the great thing is, and this was an unusual circumstance in sport, where and people always were kind of cynical about it, where some player got traded and the team was still paying his salary, and then he would come back and either score a basket against you to beat you, or hit a home run to knock you out of the postseason, and everybody, can you believe that? We lost to so and so, and we're paying for him to do that to us. Criminal, right? And that's always an odd circumstance. But in this case, every team in the league is paying this clown. Not clown. I mean, this cat. Certainly not a clown, but it's kind of weird to think that you're paying for a guy to come in there and then kick the shit out of you.
Yeah.
What do you think, Libby? You seem lost there. You all right?
The thing is, like, Beckham was the closest thing, and the league didn't do it. LA Galaxy wanted him badly. They got him. The league, I mean, it brought some attention to Galaxy games, but it didn't bring attention to the league overall. Like, this has brought like worldwide attention to the MLS in a way the MLS has never, like Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a big signing. He still could play in a way Beckham couldn't. Beckham was done. Beckham was never anywhere near as great as any of these guys. That's the thing with Beckham. Beckham's thing was he was a good player for England, but it was more he married Posh Spice, a good-looking dude.
No, but he's a good-looking cat, man. I mean, Beckham would be standing out in any circumstance.
It was the lore. Yeah. He as a player was never as good, and by the time he came to America, he was flat out done. Like overseas, they didn't want him anymore. Like England was putting him not even on their national roster. Like that's not the case for Messi. We just saw Messi on the world stage, whether it was PKs, whatever it was, the dude played his ass off. Like he, outside of the PKs, he was the best player on the team that won the World Cup.
Like, as soccer goes, he's entertaining to watch. I mean, there's no doubt when he starts dribbling the ball through like six guys. Even if it ends up, I mean, which usually that's the beauty of that game is you can have all of his skill, enormous skill, and go ahead and do something that just would knock anybody, flat out, and then the ball rolls out to midfield, and they kick it back to the goalie at the other end, and he kicks it back out to midfield, so you can start the whole process all over again.
Yeah, it's usually much to do about nothing. It's what soccer.
Nothing ever happens.
But the thing with Messi is like he at his peak was the best player in the world, and arguably people do put him up there or even past Pele because of what soccer is. The revelation of soccer in his lifetime, like Pele was him, and then who else? It was a different world. Like now, soccer is all over.
Pele went into a league that at least I don't know. I mean, was the NASL for some reason I want to say
wasn't better.
And it seemed like it was better to me. I don't know why, because I guess it was the first pro soccer here, and I know nothing about soccer. Were those guys a bunch of rejects? And some of them were, I guess. But it seemed to me like some of the European players that came over there came over to play in the NASL, and Latin players. So were top notch guys. No,
they were just all done. Like Messi's coming over, and he's not done. And that's the intriguing part is he's old. He's not the exact dude that got.
You mean Jan van Beveren wasn't a star? Jan van Beveren
at the time. Any of the best, all the guys that came over here were always done. Like Messi's not done. Messi's not Messi fine, but he still is a top 3 to 5 player in the world right now. And he's coming here. So it's good. Look, there's going to be a lot of publicity behind it. Will it work on the pitch? Will it work?
Was that the biggest crowd they ever had last night? Did they ever sell out a game before?
They didn't sell out. What are they selling out?
This rinky-dink stadium, with rain pouring down, Jorge Nomas is out there. Jim Sarney posed the question, what would have happened with the Marlins if Jorge Nomas, who appears to, I know the league is helping him out here, and, the money's coming from a lot of different sources that were more of a collective than necessarily out of his pocket. But, how could you make money if you were paying one of these MLS players like $50 million a year, Lubie?
Well, they're not.
Does any team generate $50 million in revenue in the MLS?
I feel like he's not just getting it from the team. It's a league-wide effort. And again, their television contract now is $1 billion. They have $1 billion television contract. So they're
okay, really? Wow.
And remember, most of the teams sell out. They actually get really good following, except for down here. Like the cities.
Nobody gives a shit about soccer down here, even though this is supposed to be soccer country.
Yes, down here, it's
all these crazed people. They were waiting out in the rain from noon to get into this shitty little stadium here that should have been condemned years ago. That everybody left, right?
100%.
Nobody wanted to play there. And, the Yankees left centuries ago and said, let's move a little north here. Can buy some land for nothing. Well, they went to Tampa, right?
Yes.
But, it just seems like all of a sudden now that this is the biggest of deals and we don't have any business, being the place where it's taking place, do we?
No,
a schmanky team that was losing every game. Nobody gave a shit about this until yesterday. And I don't know that they still do. What's going to happen if Messi goes a series of games where he doesn't score and doesn't do anything of any real particular significance, Libby? What do they say then? Why am I rooting for that?
I don't know, but I just don't see it. The guy's been able to dominate wherever he's been.
And if he scores 5 goals a game, then everything that we said, as a prelude to this is true, that this is a joke. This guy should not be at this level of competition at this stage of his career, where he literally has gone to what most would consider to be a minor league, and then on top of that, to play for the worst team in the minor league.
Yes. I mean, this doesn't make any sense on any level. But it'll be a telltale sign to his greatness if he's able to. That's what going to this. That's the one way going to this league is sort of interesting. Is he's going to a team that sucks, right? So if he can come into the team that sucks, even in a shitty league, and take them to the playoffs and make a run, that is actually somehow a feather in his cap for going to the MLS. Like, okay,
I'm not buying that. I'm thinking if that happens, then it proves that the whole thing was a joke. Now, if he comes in there and struggles, even though he's playing great, then that would do more for me to validate the overall quality of play, which I would have no way of judging because, you guys well know, I consider the sport to be a joke. The goal literally is the size of the Red Sea.
Yeah, it's big as fucking.
You don't even have to part it. I mean, it covers the entire baseline.
Yeah, it's almost the whole thing. And remember, the soccer field's massive, and people still barely score.
And are there any good soccer goalies? Because none of them ever make a save of any significance. Like, never.
There's great goalies. I don't know.
I mean, like clown plays go for goals in soccer. Never anything, where guys just firing some bullet and the goalie makes a miracle save. Never happens, no? Almost anything on net goes in, but there's never anything on net because you can not get the ball there with all that congestion and the stupid rules about offsides.
It's not exactly true.
Maybe it's an exaggeration to make a point.
A bit.
No, we've been rambling for an hour here. We didn't even get to the Marlins getting swept.
I was going to say, so I guess he's just not talking Marlins now.
No, I mean, that was kind of wild yesterday because I'm watching in and out.
They were dominant.
I see they're down 5-0 going to the ninth inning. I said, let me just take a look here, see if anything happens. Sure enough, they rally back for 4 with 2 away and a man on second. And Louis arrives at the plate, now hitting just .380. And Louis completes an 0 for 5 night. I think, though, didn't he have a 4-hit game in one of those games in the series?
They were fucking up 4-0, and he had 4 hits and played his ass off. And again, they're late pitching threw the game away. And
they didn't bring in Dylan Floro by any chance.
They did bring in Floro. I think Floro had a lot to do with it. He sucks.
I don't want to pick on a guy. He's probably a fine individual, but every time I see him, he sucks.
He sucks.
Dylan Floro. What would he be the comparison? I mean, would there be an earlier Marlin comparison where a guy came in out of the bullpen and every time he came in and you watched him every single time? It was the Kyle Korver syndrome where every time I saw him shoot, he missed.
Yeah.
Where, routinely, they bring this guy in and he's going to get shelled. Richie Lewis back in the day, right? From Florida State.
Floro actually didn't give up a run in that game, but because the damage had already been done.
Yeah.
But he is not good. I don't.
Once in a while you watch him, you say, okay, I could see where they have some reliance on this particular guy. They keep bringing him in out of the pen, but it's just one of those odd things where anytime Floro comes into a game and I'm involved in watching, it's death. I mean, I was rooting for him to come into that game that I lost there that bounced me out of the 3-team parlay. When that guy was Hicks, his name, throws the ball in the fucking right field. You're 2 feet from first base. That's a Little League play. This is the Cardinals organization. One of the fabled organizations in all of sport. They do things the right way. We play the game right. We play the game hard. All of this stuff, right? Holy Red Schoendienst. What the hell just happened there? Hey. I'm gambling again. That's the problem. All right, we're coming back with more. Brett Tester, the agent of the Stars, are a bunch of football issues to address with Brett Tester, the agent of the Stars. I don't know. What's the flow? I haven't been able to really read the chat line here while babbling away, but what's the flow of conversation on the Messi thing? Do people think that this is going to work or not?
We were just talking about the money. And where it is in relation to the Beckham.
The money actually sounds small to me. I mean, and maybe this is very noble on Messi's part, who seems to be a man of the people. That he turned down $200 billion from the Saudis. He could have easily gone and kicked the ball around in the sand there. It would go just as far.
He turned down like 1.6 billion. Which
had he seen this stadium before he signed this deal, or was he just being zamboozled by paperwork that was being thrown in front of him by a battery of attorneys?
There must have been promises of a stadium coming. I mean, look, their name is Miami. Their name isn't Fort Lauderdale.
Well, they got that thing going at Mel Reese, right? Isn't that happening?
Something's happening. I mean, you're not getting Messi without having a real, and that's probably why they're not futzing with Hard Rock outside of tournaments here and there, because they don't want to set up another contract somewhere. They're already in a Fakakta contract with Drive Pink, Lockhart. They probably don't.
And what is the basis of the generation of that name? Drive Pink. What the hell? I mean,
Auto Nation is big with breast cancer.
Okay, all right. I'm assuming they had some connection there with breast cancer with this pink stuff, but
awareness month or all year long. But they do a thing called Drive Pink, where a certain amount of money from each purchase goes toward breast cancer research and breast cancer funding.
Okay, so, all right, that's very noble.
It's the Auto Nation Stadium, but instead of that, they call it Drive Pink.
Drive Pink. Okay. And how long has that been going on?
I think a couple years. I think it was Lockhart until 2 or 3 years ago. They did, because Inter Miami was going to play there, so they had to do some renovations. They had to pick it up a little bit. It's just not.
It looks pretty rinky-dink by anything that I've seen. I was amazed when I was riding the train through the wilderness there in Italy, as we were traveling from Florence to Rome. I sound like I'm writing the beginning of a Mike Mayo food column, right? The pretentious atmosphere on the way from Florence to Rome pervaded over a field of grapes that looked absolutely exquisite. No, I remember seeing, and this struck me as being, one of the reasons that maybe European people are a little bit different, is that instead of like little baseball fields that you'll see sometimes, you're flying in, and they take you from west to east over the Everglades there, and then you get into the area of Fort Lauderdale around the airport, and you see, wow, I didn't know there were all these baseball fields. Did you, Lubie? I mean, and you're thinking, when does anybody use any of these parks? All over the place. But there, they had these little tiny, like, soccer stadiums.
Yep. And they're all legit.
But like, like one, small bleacher that would fit maybe 20 people. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, if he played any soccer in Italy, he's probably used to that if he did that growing up. But does that not look exceedingly rinky-dink? Well, where do these other teams play? Don't they play at like the Meadowlands and stuff like that? I mean, this is going to be very, very strange.
Other teams play in real stadiums. They're supposed to play in a real stadium. At some point, they're going to have their own stadium. I presume getting Messi.
But he's only, he's 35. He's signed through 2025.
You can put a stadium up in a year or two. I mean, I would presume by his third year, they'll have a stadium. Yeah.
Isn't that Coral Gables in that area there? I mean, do you have any idea what it would take to get a permit to actually build something?
I have no idea about any of this.
Even if you were Jorge Nomas.
They got him to sign on. Like, Messi's been around a long time, and he's played at only big-time clubs. So he wouldn't have signed on for no reason. Like, there's a lot of assurances here from a lot of people that aren't fucking the city of Miami. Like, the real deal, Adidas, Apple TV, the MLS as a whole are the reason he's here. It's not, and Jorge Mas, I think, had decent involvement, but it's not, playing for Inter Miami CF. Like, that's not why he's here. It's almost nothing to do with them.
I would think it's the strangest of situations, is it not? And that we're at the center of it, and I don't know that we're equipped to deal with it. I really don't, Mike Lubie. It's certainly we aren't here on the show. You, I would have to say, are doing a much better job of, kind of following the storyline.
I've just kept an eye on it because it's fucking weird.
I can't believe it. I'm looking at this and going, my God, these people, even if it was only like 15,000 of them are standing out in the rain for 8 hours.
Look, the reason we didn't go was, first of all, Shirley didn't catch on early enough. Second, we sort of got a husky.
You would have tried to squeeze your way in there?
Shirley would have gone.
Who would want to, hating crowds the way I do at this point, you really would want to, be schwitzing and soaking wet. And then, this place is a dump. I don't care how they renovated it, Lubie. We were there many, many times doing those high school football games a couple of years ago.
I've been to Lockhart a bunch of times. I would normally not envision going to not in a game, let alone going and watching a fucking stupid welcoming ceremony.
Remember walking up those, sort of ladders to get to the press box?
Yeah, it's like straight up.
Which was as rickety, as like if you were in some, Comiskey Park or something in the 1930s.
The fucking press box shakes, like it moves. I remember it like sways. It's not stable.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if people are stomping around in the stands there. Unfortunately, there was nobody in attendance at most of these games, especially when you were doing that renegade professional football league. What was the name of that league? Lubie? And would this not be the equivalent of like Jalen Ramsey signing up to be a corner in that Stars football league that you were calling the games there, where they were like a guy, he was like wearing half of his fireman's outfit because he didn't have time to put his uniform on?
No, it's like him being in the USFL. I mean, they play in real stadiums, and they like it's just a stupid ass league. Stars literally.
How long are we going to be able to trash this before we're proven to be idiots?
We'll see. I mean, we'll see what the product is on the field.
It's weird. It really is. It would be the equivalent of LeBron James this year saying, "You know what? I'm not coming back to the Lakers.
100%.
I'm thinking Bronny's not going to make it into the pros, so I want to lay the groundwork in Turkey, and I'm going to play in that league for the next 2 years."
People make a living in the MLS. It's not like the MLS. Like, it's a league, like, with coaches, and they travel on charter planes, and like they have fan bases, and they have a TV like it's not. It's like going overseas. Like, guys go overseas and make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
True.
They're just not making millions. Like, that's what it is. Is where guys in Europe can be average and make like 50 million. Like, no, here you're making 50K, 100K, 200K. Guys are making in the millions. MLS, they're just not. It's fucking night and day. It's like, look.
So who's the next highest paid guy on the Inter Miami CF football team?
Good, I don't know.
Imagine it. You got one guy making $60 million, and I'm thinking that the salaries there had to be, pretty much under wraps. No, they don't even need a salary cap. They know. I don't know, and maybe I'm dead wrong about this. But with this $1 billion television contract, I guess that would change the picture considerably. Yeah. All right, we're going to come back with more. Brett Tesley, the agent of the Stars, is going to join us about 8:35 this morning.
Sir.
And we'll get into, what are the issues that are particularly pressing there in the National Football League? Will Pollard get his long-term deal done with the Dallas Cowboys, Lubie, huh? How about that?
The only one I've seen at all is the South Florida fans throwing little stuff about Cook. That's
Dalvin Cook. Okay.
Dolphins, Jets. Football. I've heard really not any.
DeAndre Hopkins now signed a 2-year deal with the Tennessee Titans. Are they going someplace this year, Lubie? The Tennessee Titans?
I don't think so.
No, nothing.
I mean, they are a borderline playoff. Their division sucks. So it's sort of why, everyone now is anointing the Jags. I mean, the Jags are fine, but they're not a juggernaut. The division's open.
You would have to say Trevor Lawrence still hasn't completely proven that he's reliable yet.
He's young. They have young weapons. They have a young offensive line. Peterson's an established coach, but they're still finding their footing. They played really well at the end. They almost won. They almost what was it?
They were good last year. They were good.
They almost beat in the playoffs. They almost won in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on them. I think they are the best team in that division. But like, if you're saying the Jags are the best team in the division, people in the division should be like, okay, like, we have a shot.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm watching a lot of speculation, not a lot of it, but as soon as I see the topic, I'm thinking, this is Tune Out City, but I'm seeing a lot of people discussing anyway before I switch channels in disgust, the prospects for the various divisions, which is it too soon? You're talking about, Lubie, NFL training camps would be what? Next week?
This week? My eyes, the preseason does start the beginning of August. So that's only 2 weeks away.
That's 2 weeks away, right.
We hate preseason because it's a fucking dick tease. But it is NFL players on a field with refs and a handful of fans in the stands. So it is some kind of football, and that's in 2 weeks. So it actually is here. It is a lot closer than
it's arrived. Yes.
We're realizing it is.
In fact, I'm surprised because when I first came to town here, it was universal discussion, 24 hours a day, and 365 days a year. You were actually on a countdown to the number of days before the Dolphins went to training camp, and we would go out there every day, in arduous pursuit of the latest, most insightful information that you could pick up on a team. And then I believe there were still 6 preseason games back then in the 80s. Can you imagine speculating your way through 6 preseason games as to what their relative meaning and importance were, which was 0.0? because the season would start and the teams that were good in the preseason, it wasn't necessarily like the old Yankee syndrome where the Yankees would be the worst team in spring training and then open up 20 games by mid-July. And you were saying, well, you see that? All of that concern that you had in spring training, it really wasn't very meaningful. It used to be an obsession, though, Lubie, and you were part of this with training camp insights and information, an obsession. And people thought that they could make definitive judgments about their team coming up in the regular season based on what they saw in the preseason, which has become, I mean, how neutered has that whole thing become, where you can make any judgments whatsoever based on what you see in the preseason? What do you think, Libby? Maybe looking at a rookie quarterback?
I do nothing with preseason. That's the problem. That's why to me, football's still a month and a half away because the preseason sucks. But if Ken can watch Aussie rules football, then I guess we can watch preseason. And I mean,
the worst game in any sport, I think, in any season, is the Hall of Fame game in the NFL. Is it not? I mean, the absolute worst game. People could look at the NBA All-Star game. At least you're looking at some stars out there. But the Hall of Fame game is an atrocity, where they trot the starting quarterback out there and he takes the opening snap. And before even, I guess, he's at the line of scrimmage barking out signals if it would be Peyton Manning. And before he even gets the snap, he calls a timeout and they take him out of the game.
For sure. That's really how it is. That's why the preseason sucks.
Manning's going to exit this game. And I tell you what, we're going to get another look at Bubby Brister, ladies and gentlemen. And the Bubster, he's really been firing in practice. In fact, the guys say that he's right up there on the same plane. I mean, the announcers are scrambling to retain the audience.
Tua with all this injury bullshit, they're not going to play Tua. Like, you're not going to take any chances. Like, what is Tua going to do?
He would have to wear a steel helmet. He would be like
him in armor.
I don't know if you remember that Superman episode where the guys were bank robbers and they wore lead masks for 7 years so that they could get past the statute of limitations. And then it turned out Superman found some way to, like, with X-ray vision, penetrate these masks and melt them down like 1 hour before they were about to beat the rap. Unbelievable. It's funny how that thing worked out, too. It was always at the last minute. Kind of like the NFL. So we'll talk to Brett Tesser about some of the things that are happening. The lineman for the Jets, what is it, Quinnen Williams?
Yes.
He got like $100 million, and so they resolved that situation. Say what?
He's one of the best defensive tackles in football, and he's young. I mean, there wasn't really an argument. He just wanted it now, and the Jets were sort of futzing because they're trying to figure out their money. But
what money do they have left after? I mean, are the Packers? Is that one of those situations where the Packers are going to pay Aaron Rodgers? I don't think
paying some of his salary. Yeah,
they are. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're paying for sure paying some of his salary.
Wouldn't that be something, huh? If the Packers found their way back into the Super Bowl and lost to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, you think Roger Goodell would be digging that story? Although, no, he'd probably be crying. Can you believe it? Green Bay? We got 30,000 television sets in the entire state of Wisconsin, and that's it. I want the Rams in there. Is the league going to be eventually rigged in that direction? Also, Lubie, to pacify the rather large contracts that they have with various television networks and gambling entities? What do you think? Or will people gamble on anything? They don't care who the two teams are as long as they can make a bet. That's pretty much true. This Messi shit, though, I mean, look at this team is horrible on top of being in a scrub league. Come on.
100%. I mean, look, the boost.
What a sellout Lionel Messi is. I mean, they must despise him in Europe, no, for leaving?
No, they probably don't give a shit. They're probably happy. I mean, they're probably ready. He's 35. I mean, it's time for him to, in their mind, probably to move on. Like older dudes, like mid-30s is sort of when you're done in soccer.
Wasn't he in some tax jackpot also, Lionel Messi, at some point?
Spain with Barcelona. He was like tax evasion or some shit. Like he wasn't paying taxes. It was like a whole fucking thing. Like a big ass deal.
He'll love it in Florida then. No state income tax. It's usually the lure for anybody, right? I think Ohtani signs here with the Marlins. No? That's where he's going to end up in free agency. That's the hot topic, Lubie. What do you do if you're the Angels? Do you trade Ohtani at the deadline?
I mean, he's not signing there. They don't win. What is he signing there for? He can get more.
He's still in Los Angeles, essentially, although that's the redheaded stepchild. And it isn't exactly L.A.
It's
We're
not
talking
winning.
about Orange County.
It's not about attention because he's the one dude that even being for the Angels gets attention every night. So it's not an attention thing. It's not a money thing. He's getting paid. He's getting endorsements. It's not like we see Gabe Vincent now suddenly is like doing national interviews because he's a Laker, even though he hasn't played for the Lakers and probably won't even be good for the Lakers. But I
think he'll do all right with the Lakers now.
I think he'll be okay. I don't know. I think it's a heat system thing. Like you see these guys go elsewhere and they're not the same. And I don't think he will be. That's why I'm happy he got his money, because staying here, he was never going to get paid and he'll probably never be great again. Like what he did these playoffs, he's a cash in. Yeah. I mean, him and
scathing indictment of Gabe Vincent.
Average. I mean, they are what they are. Like I never said they weren't. They just fit here. Like when guys go elsewhere, they're never the same. I mean, did you hear anything about Josh Richardson did you even know where Josh Richardson was? But he's going to come here and play great again. Like he is. Like he fits what the Heat are. So like let Vincent go, but he hasn't played a minute there. And he's already getting more attention with the Lakers than averaging 20 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Because he's a Laker you can access.
It's just,
I mean, if you call the Lakers PR department right now and said you want to talk to Reeves even, they would say, who the fuck are you? No? But Gabe Vincent, we might be, see if you can get him on the show, Lubie. Gabe Vincent. We'll find out what it's like to go.
So I'm not even hating Vincent. I'm just saying, like, he's already getting the attention. Otani doesn't need that. Yes, he's in the big market, but it's not even that. Like, when you're a unicorn like that, you get attention, even in baseball. He wants to win. They're not winning. They finally were sort of flirting with the wild card, and then the last 3 weeks played like ass and are now well out of it. So, to me, there's no way he's staying there. Okay, so then fuck it. If you know he's leaving, why not get a haul? Like, why not really? Trout's getting older. Why not reboot your franchise? Like, they don't win. Like, and the guy's willing to spend. It's not like he's fucking Sherman. Like, he's willing to spend. They just don't win. They need to start over. Otani's the perfect guy to start over with. Like, to me, this Artie Moreno, well, am I going to be the guy that trade? This isn't Babe Ruth. Like, you're going to get prospects. You're not like the Red Sox were winning with Babe Ruth. That was a problem. And they just gave him money.
I like it. You went all the way back to Ruth.
That's what people are comparing it to. They're saying like he doesn't want to be Harry Cheaty or whatever the fuck the guy. Like he doesn't want to be the guy. He doesn't want to be the guy that gives away. Look, they're saying this is the greatest season in baseball history. Are you going to be?
You would have to say it is. I mean, having watched baseball my whole life and studied its history.
Are you going to be the guy?
Who's doing anything like this ever? I mean, pitching well enough to be an ace in your starting rotation. And hitting, leading the majors in home runs, and while hitting over 300, pretty incredible.
No, like most owners, we know it's all a pride thing for the most part. They all have plenty of money. It's not the money. Owning a team is really about pride. Like I want to show that I own a baseball team. Okay, so that guy doesn't want to be the guy that people make fun of for getting rid of first ballot Hall of Famer. But what are you getting by having him? Like you're getting.
Well, I mean, if you're going to lose in the free agency, and the messy thing, this would be like Otani opting to sign with the Oakland A's, no? Saying, well, I always, like the food in San Francisco, and there's a big Japanese and Asian contingent there. I'll be very popular. Actually, what if he signed with like the Giants or Seattle, somewhere there? I mean, how popular would this guy be? I mean, he's going to be popular no matter what. Do you think, Lubie? This is an interesting question. I don't mean it to be in any way disparaging towards people that don't speak English that come to play sports here from other countries. But how much more into the whole Otani mania would people be if he spoke English, do you think, in this country?
I don't know. I think it is weird.
And does he? I mean, because I see him kibitzing with some of his teammates. Now, I don't know. Do they know a couple of like Japanese phrases? Because it appeared to me that does he not have... There was a guy in there that looked like he was just in the dugout as an interpreter.
He has an interpreter. He did. I saw him do an interview last week. And
he wears an Angels uniform.
The professor and I were watching, and Ken was like, he's been here a while. It is weird if he doesn't know English. But what's funny is Buster Olney, I think, was doing it, would ask the question.
Yeah.
Otani wasn't looking at the interpreter. He was looking at
understood the question.
Understood it. And he would be about to speak, and the interpreter would jump in. So it's like, okay, so the dude knows English. He's just doing the Pacquiao where he doesn't like how he sounds and he doesn't want to come off weird. So you could have him doing a fucking commercial. How much do they talk in these commercials? You could have him going, right guard, that's for me. Like, I'm sure he could freaking do a commercial. Like, he doesn't need to.
But I'm talking about, in terms of people, he seems to have an extremely engaging personality. He looks like a guy that you want to root for, no matter what, even if he wasn't that great. Because He has tremendous enthusiasm, even for this losing team. What are the Angels like? One game or 2 games under 500. They lost last night in despicable fashion. And I would think, I don't know, is there really any guarantee, though, that if you go with a team, look at the Mets this year. If they could have signed Ohtani, would they not have? Of course they would have.
Oh, for sure.
And they'd still be, unfortunately, sitting there having to pay a bunch of stiffs that are doing nothing for them. And have them thinking about unloading these guys at the trade deadline instead of trying to add to what they have.
The Angels are 6 out of the wild card. 6.
Okay, and they've had Mike Trout out of the lineup now. Well, for a while?
Yeah, he's been hurt for a week or so, and he's going to be hurt for another week or so.
All right.
Look, paying money for guys doesn't guarantee a goddamn thing. We know that.
No.
But when you see these teams like the Mariners go through their rebuild and then be ready to win, they have to spend. Like, you can't tell a fan base we're going to suck without then spend. The Rays are the only ones that get away with it because they don't have a fucking fan base. Like, the Padres sucked, but now they spend. The Mets sucked, but now you can only get away with, outside of Miami and Tampa, you can only get away with we're going to suck for a few years. If once you're done sucking, you spend like a fucking monster. Like, the Mariners are in that phase now where they're just buying guys, and the Diamondbacks are probably going to be close to that soon. And the Giants, again, went through this thing where they were going low money. They're now ready to spend. The Dodgers are back to every year spending.
Oh, the Dodgers have been spending for a while.
Someone's going to buy him and win. Like, the problem with the Mets is they bought their whole.
The Mets are jinxed. That's what the problem with the Mets is. Ever since Casey Stengel managed the team, they've essentially been jinxed. They're, Met fans are resigned to, very much like Cub fans were when they were dealing with the curse of the Billy Goat. That, they're just going to perpetually going to be awful. That guys that started out as fans at 6 years old are going to go to their grave at 96 and not see a World Series ring, which was why many people were upset, including the baseball purist himself, Bob Costas, that what he thought was just a thieving bunch of, people that were taking advantage of an awkward system won a World Series here with the Marlins in 1997. Remember, he was practically puking. When Renteria sent that single up the middle and Counsell came around third and scored, there was no joy in Mudville if you were Bob Costas, that's for sure, while we were celebrating wildly, thinking, wow, 5 years in, we have a world championship, and here's Wayne, man. He's got pockets that will never empty out. You can't take it with you, though, Lubie, huh? He checked out soon after that. Pretty soon after that. So, make sure that, you realize that, as we found out with Big Rich, sobbing as if he had just found out that his mother had come back. Well, no, his mother is alive. His best friend had come back from the grave or whatever. $22,000. Isn't that great to go to the window to collect $22,000? I've never done it.
I've never won. I don't bet like you guys, so I don't put myself out there enough to win money.
This was not on a large ticket, though. This is the advantage of hitting one of those. What would that be? Is that a linear bet? Linear? Yeah, vertical. What is it? Horizontal? Which is which, Lubie? I never could get that right. I would always go to the wrong button when you had to adjust it yourself on your television screen.
Horizontal.
You didn't live in that era, did you? Where you had a little knob and you would have to adjust the vertical and horizontal. Otherwise, it was just flipping.
One big ass TV without cable that was on the ground. The big ones where the screen was literally this big, but the TV was this fucking big.
Right.
And it was on the ground. And
yeah, the giant speaker that sucked. Yeah.
For some reason, my parents had that, even though cable was around pretty much my entire life. I don't know why, but the first TV in my parents' home was that. Like,
and it was like part of the furniture.
Yeah, it was like there. Yeah. You on top of it because it was so fucking big. You had to make use of it. Half the time it didn't work, so you put another TV on top of it. It was just there because you didn't want to get rid of it. Yep, 100%.
I always get a kick. I mean, this is going way back, but when people were sitting around listening to like a big wooden radio, and it was the size of like what would be a small television screen, and they're all looking at the radio as they're listening to like a Jack Dempsey fight. And you're thinking, what is the point of looking at the radio? It's like all of those degenerate slime that were at the Jamaica OTB, and they're all looking up at the speaker. And then I'm looking up at the speaker going, why would this enhance my ability to know who the hell won this race? They didn't even have video, nothing. Here comes Armbro Hanover, right? And you're listening to some jughead race from Yonkers. and asking yourself, what am I doing here? Did I die and this is hell? Must be. Well, at least there's simulcasting. All right, we're going to come back in just a few moments here. That might have been our longest segment in history, Libby, is
Yeah,
it
you did an
not?
hour and a half straight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot on the plate here. I didn't even get to half of it.
I didn't realize there was that much.
You know what's great about this kind of job is that at the same time, I feel like we've said nothing.
Nothing at all. What do you mean? Mayo's always like, oh, I had all these things. I'm like, that's your fault. I told you from the beginning. I never, and the shows you don't do, he always wants a co-host.
Yeah.
He wants this. I'm like, Mayo, I can do shows by myself without Defo for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. There's the two of us or the three of us, there's always something. Like,
there's always something, yeah.
There's
I always thought this, that, if I was going to, teach a class in this, which would be the last thing on earth you would ever want to see.
no.
But, I mean, I do have experience, understanding of the business and all of that. And I've done a lot of different things, over the course of what would be deemed to be a relatively mediocre career. But nonetheless, I've had some good opportunities. I would do one of those things like they did. What was the movie with DiCaprio where he holds up a pen at the end and says, I want somebody to tell me what this is?
Oh, I don't
whatever.
know.
What was that? That was the Wolf of Wall Street, wasn't it?
That was like a Wolf of Wall Street thing because it was all about selling. You could sell a penny stock that doesn't exist to anyone.
Yes.
Then you need to be able to sell this to anyone. Yeah, it was
right. I just say, okay, tell me about this, right? And you could start out a million ways, right? Well, the pen is used to write, and of course, there have been a lot of great, sports writers in the history of the, art. And then the next thing you know, you're going on for another hour and a half, and
100%.
it reminds me always of the one note that I remember the teacher wrote in the margin of one of my papers that I wrote. And she said that it's clear, Mr. DeForest, that you didn't read any of the materials that were required for this course. But I'm giving you a B- because this was very interesting and it's rambling.
Exactly.
Is that not me? I mean, did that woman not have me pegged? That was one of the early professors that I had at Syracuse University. I forget what it was. It might have been like some English lit course. And, who's reading those stupid British novels? Nobody, man. Nobody. Remember, thick as a brick. Our Lady of Saxon. It's like, go fuck yourself with this woman. I mean, I don't want to read 800 pages about her in some flowery language. Let me. If there are no cliff notes, then I will know nothing about this. But theorize about it nonetheless. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. We have some fine sponsors we have to support here on the program. We hope that you will too. And then Brett Tesler, the agent to the stars, is going to join us, and we'll get into some of these things that are happening in the National Football League. How pissed can you be about being on Hard Knocks, Libby? After you find out, do you just resign yourself to the fact that it's happening? I mean, what is it that you're afraid they're going to expose? Have you ever seen anything on Hard Knocks that made you think, wow, Belichick would like to know this?
No, they never focus on any of the real players. They always focus on the schminks that it's you're
same storylines. They're fun, but it's the same story.
Literally tying with John Anderson, the backup long snapper, and they actually are good enough at telling the story that you actually fall for it. You're like, oh my God, is he gonna make it? He didn't make it. Oh, he made it. Then you never hear his name ever once the entire NFL season.
So. Oh, who was that guy 7-Eleven that we had with the Dolphins? Remember?
Hogan. Yeah, I guess eventually he made it with the Patriots, and he was sort of okay with the Patriots.
Hogan was.
But he didn't do anything for the Dolphins. Like, he did nothing for the Dolphins.
Well, they didn't give him a shot, man. I mean, wasn't that in the Adam Gase era where, Gase would have guys that had talent? I mean,
no, it was
just look what he did with the Jets. Oh, that was Smoking Joe? Yeah, it could have been. It
was Philbin. Remember?
That's right, because Philbin was the guy on Hard Knocks, and you were thinking of all the people that you could have on Hard Knocks. Remember how stunned he looked when they traded that defensive back?
Devontae Davis.
Davis, yeah. And Jeff Ireland comes in and says, we just traded your starting quarterback, coach. And Joe's like, that sounds like a good idea.
Even consult him.
He did. He looked like one of the extras in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. As he was being delivered the news that he would be taking double his medication from now on.
The best is you always bring it up. He was going around the facility picking up trash going, we're a organized ball club. We're going to have things clean here. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you doing that?
Right. How about coming up with some plays that work, Joe? And we liked the guy, too. And what was weird was he in some strange fashion, liked us. That was a very unusual relationship, one that I never thought would be going well. When we ran it, I was a little nervous that day, Lubie, and I don't get nervous in these spots too often. But that day, because I didn't really want to be pounded on for having some fun talking about the sporting world. Do you? I mean, most people you would think would understand that we're just kidding around, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
But when he hit us with that thing, I hear you have a nickname for me. I thought, holy shit, am I Jim Rome here?
I was like, oh no,
About to get knocked off my chair by Jim Everett and through the wall, and that's going to be the thing maybe that makes me. Although today, where that made Jim Rome very famous, and he went on to great significance in terms of at least compensation in his career, and I guess you would say what accomplishment. National radio for years and years and years.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is that he's doing, it was working, right?
I forget that he's still around. He still has like
Still around.
Yeah.
What was that show he had? Was it on HBO?
Jim Rome is Burning.
Rome's Burning. That was ESPN. Oh, yeah,
ESPN.
that was kind of a goofy show, huh?
I've never been a fan of him. I always thought he was a jackass. But I mean, he was founding fathers of this industry, so good for him, I guess.
But getting punched out by Joe Philbin or knocked to the ground would have been more likely in the cancel culture era to have us be finished for life.
Us. We were the home of the Dolphins.
Yes,
going to give us.
We would have been fired immediately, would we not? I mean, it wasn't like they were going to back us up on anything that happened. That they thought, oh, geez, ruffling some feathers there, Defo.
Yeah.
And if anything, I mean, the reason the station had a decent relationship with the Dolphins was probably largely because of us. Never mind the salespeople that were on their hands and knees begging them for anything. Just anything. Throw us a fish. We'll be happy. Because the Dolphins would call and everybody would shudder at the radio station, would they not? What do they want now? No, we don't like the way your morning show is characterizing our head coach.
I mean,
yeah, you don't want that happening. All right, but anyway, yeah, Philbin, I thought he was going to knock us to the ground because he started right out with that thing. So I hear you have a nickname for me, and obviously he's challenging me then at that point, Lubie, while you immediately dropped the recorder that we were using and ran for cover, like any solid producer was, going to do, backing up their host. And I finally had to say, yeah, it's Smoking Joe Philbin. And he says, I love it. We were like, you do? It's not disparaging, though. I guess it was in the context that we were what? Our usual ray of sarcastic, bullshit selves. Yeah. Because he had no personality. So how could he be Smoking Joe? That was the whole idea.
You weren't being mean, but you were being biting and you were being sort of a jerk 100%. Like, I mean,
when we were singing Smoking Joe Philbin stands by the door, like to the tune of Eleanor Rigby, maybe he was listening that day. Is that possible? They all say they never listen. All right, we're coming back with Brett Tester, the Agent of the Stars, in a moment here on the Defo Show on Appeal Yourself Off the Map Monday. Now that.
The time.
8:35. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less money, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tesler.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubie, Lubitz with you on Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. And joining us right now as, the season, I can't believe, and we were talking about this earlier, Lubie, like a couple of weeks away from preseason games, right upon us here. And we have the agent to the stars, Brett Tesler, joining us here on the show. Brett, how are you, my friend?
Couldn't be better, Dave. 60 degrees and sunny up here right now, and it's just been a nice, relaxing summer thus far.
Nice.
Where are you, Juneau, Alaska? 60 degrees. The entire country is like 120 in the shade. It's been unbelievable. So, that has to be refreshing, based on what I finally just about passed out yesterday after doing my walk of life. It was only 120 degrees outside. And, you were looking forward to being struck by lightning at that point. All right. Speaking of being struck by lightning, we have the season upon us. We saw a transaction, go down now with DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Tennessee Titans. How much activity will we see? Because is today not the deadline for teams to get long-term contract extensions done with players that qualify for certain conditions?
Yes, it's the franchise tag players. This afternoon is the deadline to work out a long-term deal. And if that doesn't happen, then some of these guys will just sign the one-year tender at some point and end up getting a credited season. And then at the end of the year, go from there. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the two running backs, Barkley and Jacobs, those two are the ones that everybody's looking at because that's really been a messed up market as we learned firsthand. At the start of free agency this year with Mostert. And then since you've seen so many other running backs and so many other quality running backs still available. I mean, guys like Kareem Hunt, guys who realistically at whatever point they sign are probably going to be taking closer to a minimum type deal than the type of money that guys of their caliber would have received in years past. And so, Dalvin Cook, that's really the big name, I guess, to look out for now. In the case of Hopkins, that was certainly a good quality signing for the Titans. And, now really the only other veteran name of a player who still, is playing at a high level is Dalvin Cook. So that one bears noting. And obviously with the Jets being on Hard Knocks and a lot of talk about the Jets being the team he could go to, I wouldn't be surprised if something doesn't happen there in the next week or so. It'll be a good addition for their team, and of course, it'll make for good TV.
I can't help but think with DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans about the old adage about Ryan Tannehill, which was that he was the one quarterback in the league who could overthrow a small country. Because he just had a habit of airmailing that thing once he had a guy wide open. All right, I understand the resistance. People don't want, it's a very secretive league, Brett Tesler, as you well know, dealing with these people on the level that you do on the business side, where they're even more secretive than they would be about what plays they were running. But the thing about Hard Knocks, I mean, did they really get after it? I remember we were talking about the one they did with the Dolphins there, and it happened in the year of Smoking Joe Philbin. And, I mean, the big story was whether Chris Hogan was going to make the team, and they would follow that. But I don't know that there was anything that was particularly illuminating about how the team was going to operate during regular season games. What is the big thing, the big concern about having Hard Knocks come? And you would think, doing a good job of selling the franchise to the rest of the country.
Well, the real concern is just the distraction. And realistically, every team has final editing say as far as what goes in or doesn't go into that week's episode. So there isn't going to be anything strategically or competitively, as you said, that's going to really put a team at a disadvantage. It's just the overall distraction of having a crew of cameras around there. It's a distraction to the players. And so from that standpoint, these coaches are very set in their ways, and they don't want anything to serve as a distraction to their team or to any of the players on it. So realistically, at the end of the day, I don't know that having Hard Knocks at your training camp hurts your team, helps your team, or anything else. It's just one more thing for everybody to think of. And for that reason, I think that's why most teams prefer to shy away from it. But, over the years, it has been an interesting and educational thing for fans to be able to enjoy. And obviously, the NFL has been masterful in their ways of marketing everything, which to that point still shocks me that they haven't come up with a draft lottery system, which would just be another major off-season date in the calendar, and other things for fans and everyone else to get really excited about. But the whole Hard Knocks thing, I mean, seen it a million times at this point. To me, it's actually pretty redundant. I thought it was incredibly fascinating during its first few years.
Yeah.
It's kind of gotten to a point where, if you've watched one season of it, you've seen the last 20. So, they know what they're doing, and the networks that put it on know what they're doing. And if people weren't watching, they wouldn't be producing it.
So you've talked about Mostert. I know you represent him as running back. I'm sure you may have other running backs to represent. Look at what a career of a running back is nowadays, where, first of all, the run game still exists. Like, people act like people don't run the ball. Like, people run the ball. It's just NFL franchises are cheap, and they'd rather have 3 average guys than 1 workhorse. So what they do is split the money between 2 or 3 guys, and almost every year change out their stable of running backs, or every 2 years, so that they can save money. But it's not that teams aren't running. Yeah, it's a passing league. Yeah, teams still run the ball 30 to 40 times over the course of a game. They just do it with 3 or 4 guys. Do you see that? Because primetime athletes, when it came to football, a lot of the time were receiver, defensive back, or running back. Do you see players, or will you advise players to phase out of being a quote-unquote running back, because there's this weird idea that you have 4 seasons and then your career's over, whereas receivers are getting big contracts into their 30s?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, Lubie. And as far as me advising clients, what position to play or not to play, by the time I start working with these guys, their positions are already defined. Yeah. I mean, I'm working with these guys as they're coming out of college. Those kind of decisions are being made, when many of them are 12 years old.
Yeah.
And obviously, in the youth leagues, even in high school, where the passing game isn't as prevalent as it becomes at the higher levels, the running back is still has been and probably always will be the most important position on the offense. And it's the position where the greatest athlete really gets the best opportunity to showcase their speed and their size and, any of the other attributes that the position requires. And so coaches don't really ask kids, what position do you want to play? They put them at the position that best helps the team. And so very often the most talented athlete, at least, one of the faster guys, ends up at the running back position. Usually the guy who can run real fast and has decent size but can't catch extremely well ends up playing corner. And so, usually the big Ophi,
play line.
6', 13-year-old that weighs 230 pounds and has a mustache ends up playing offensive line. And so that's just kind of the way it works. And so for running backs, it's a great position to play until it comes time to get a contract in the NFL. So the running back position itself is still as important as ever. But as you said, it's now become a little more of a committee. And that's because statistics have proven that when you factor in injury and age with certain guys, that it's just, more likely than not that it could really hurt a team in their salary cap making a long-term investment. And so you've seen it with the DeMarco Murrays, with the Sean Alexanders. You've seen these guys get the huge contracts, and then within 2 years, they're practically out of the league and just a shell of their former self. And so there's exceptions to the rule. Obviously, McCaffrey, is the highest paid in the league at the position. He's a very multi-dimensional weapon. And there's other factors that go into play there as well, as far as to why he got what he did. But at the end of the day, the market has changed, and it's something that I think moving forward will be something that, as kids start transitioning into college from high school, if they know that they're a potential future NFL type talent, maybe if they're a guy who's played multiple positions on their high school offense, usually, these running backs will also get split out wide.
Yep.
And if they have the decent size and good hands, could potentially be receivers. Then that's something that at some point you might see guys moving in the direction of, because there's no question that as it stands today, and as it relates to the market of that position in the NFL, as an agent of, as you mentioned, a very good running back, the position as a whole, there's no question we've got problems.
I think it's fair to say, Brett Tusser, agent of the Stars, that Saquon Barkley has won over the fan base with the New York Giants. They love the guy. He came back strongly and, distinguished himself again as being a guy that is clearly a force at that position. How cockamamie is the situation, though, where because I guess he got franchise tagged, and then if he decides that he doesn't want to sign a franchise tag or whatever, he can sit out like 10 games or something and still get paid? How does that dynamic work, where the player still has the option to go ahead and sit out the majority of the season and still somehow qualify for his salary?
Yeah, and so the collective bargaining agreement has always had it where it counts as a season for a player if they come in before the end of week 10. And so that is the player's ultimate leverage, frankly, their only leverage and their only weapon that can counter the franchise tag, which has always been a major, major weapon that the teams have used to their advantage. And it's basically a way to suppress a guy's earning potential of what it could have been on the open market. Because had a guy like Saquon Barkley been an unrestricted free agent a few months ago, like all the other unrestricted free agents, who knows what some team might have been willing to give him in the way of guarantees and a long-term deal. Back when, the teams all had the bulk of their salary cap money left. Whereas now, the ultimate play that the Giants have against him is to potentially pull the tag. Because at that point now, you don't have to guarantee him the $10.1 million that him or Josh Jacobs from the Raiders would get, or that Tony Pollard from the Cowboys has already agreed to. And so being as Pollard agreed to his, he's now covered if he ends up getting injured, whatever happens. At least he knows he's going to make $10.1 million, and the team cannot take that offer. They can't rescind that offer from him. Whereas in the case of Barkley and Jacobs, look, if the team really wants to play hardball, and if they feel like there's other options for them, i.e. Dalvin Cook, for potentially a fraction of the price. If you could get Dalvin to come in there for half the money, then you know what? Maybe it's a great way to save $5 million of cap space, pull the plug on that. And then, these guys are going to be forced to see what's behind door number 2. And the reality is, in late July, with no cap money left on any of these teams, they might not like what they find out. So it's a slippery slope. And, let's just say that I'm thankful that I'm not either one of their agents.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, because, go ahead.
It's a good problem to have a $10 million a year client, but not in a situation where the market is showing that maybe those guys could be $15 million a year clients signing a 4-year deal with, $40 million guaranteed. And so it's a real conundrum. Obviously, this isn't like representing a franchised quarterback where when is the last time you've seen a quarterback sustain a career-ending injury? Running back, you're always just one carry away. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of things to consider there. And it's no coincidence that the Raiders and the Giants have taken the positions they've taken because, again, when you look at the market, let's just say that it's certainly a buyer's market as opposed to a seller's market, meaning, in representing those players or being in their position. These teams know they have the upper hand. They know that if push comes to shove, while you may not be able to quite find another Saquon Barkley, you could probably find a couple guys that you could split carries with that could give you similar production as it relates to yards per carry and things like that. But, when you're paying receivers $30 million a year now, or, whatever the hell Tyreek's getting, 25, 30 million for those guys, as well as the money that they've always had to pay for the offensive linemen, especially the left tackles, the money that the quarterbacks are getting these days. You saw what Daniel Jones got paid there in New York. So there's really only so much money left. And when you're looking at, who to screw, the running backs are probably the easiest group just from, again, the standpoint of while you may not be able to get exactly Saquon Barkley, you have a better chance of finding another running back who can kind of do what he does than you could have trying to find another quarterback who could step in and do what Daniel Jones does. And while Daniel Jones may not be the second coming of John Elway, he's still a proven starting quarterback in the NFL, and there's simply not enough of those guys to go around.
All interesting. And today being the deadline, you wonder if anybody's going to flinch in that deal, and then what the subsequent events are going to be with Saquon Barkley, who seems like, from the stuff I'm reading, the Giants and Barkley really do want to kind of stick together. And yet you said this many times on the show, and nothing in the NFL ever gets done until it's absolutely necessary. So we'll find out if that necessity pops up today. Brent, always a pleasure, my friend. Just one last thing, if you don't mind. I don't know if you, would I want to comment on this, but, with your understanding of sports business, we were talking about this Messi mania that's taken place. Do you see this working for the Major League Soccer people where they all contribute to get one guy to play a couple of years in their league? And, how you think that this is going to be something that turns out to be sound financially for Major League Soccer?
It's obviously a very aggressive play on Inter Miami's part, but look, think about how excited everybody is. We just had dinner with some friends up here who are from Chicago last week, and they have field side seats. They have a box, right near center field, right down near the field itself. And they said that for the game that Messi is supposed to be coming to play against the Chicago team, that they've already been offered $10,000 a piece for their tickets. So,
what did you recommend they do with them?
Sell them.
Me too. Come on, that's a no-brainer.
20 grand. For what?
This wasn't the Stanley Cup final or anything.
No. I'm a capitalist, and for the right money, I believe that just about anything can be bought or sold.
Sure.
So, the reality is, my advice to them was sell them. Hope that he comes back for them next year when the mania has settled down.
Yep.
slightly more than what it is this year, and then catching there. But the Major League Soccer teams, they're not stupid. I mean, these owners are all businessmen. They know what they're doing. They've made good decisions to get to where they have. The league as a whole, I mean, soccer as a sport just continues to get more and more popular in our country. Obviously, worldwide, it's always been the biggest sport in the world. But the reality is it relates to in our country, there is no bigger move than what this can do for soccer than maybe when the LA Kings acquired Wayne Gretzky in terms of what that meant for the American audience in hockey. And so it's just, there's just certain talents that are just so transcendent that it just crosses over just into the entertainment industry as a whole. And that's what bringing a name like Messi in does. And, make no mistake, the guy just freaking won a World Cup. I mean, he is not washed up.
He's not done.
So while he is getting a little bit long in the tooth, I mean, so is Novak Djokovic, yet you see him still competing for major championships. And so don't expect Messi to look like he looked, 10 years ago. But on the other hand, still plenty of gas left in the tank. It's going to be a great addition to the team. It's going to bring tremendous, merchandising dollars and sponsorship dollars and everything else you could imagine to both Inter Miami and the Major League Soccer as a whole. So I'm extremely excited, and it's just one of those aggressive moves where it's a little ballsy, but on the other hand, I definitely think there's a method to the madness.
Be kind of like signing Mostert to the XFL this year. In terms of the competition, I mean, what is this guy doing on his schlep team? It's insane, in my opinion. Although it's probably going to work financially.
The truth is, Deef, with what NFL running backs are getting paid these days, pretty soon we may be better off in the XFL. We'll see. we'll keep an eye on how that market goes over the coming season.
They're putting the squeeze on Saquon. Are you kidding me? A popular guy in New York. All right, Brad, always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the cool weather up there in Wisconsin. We're a little bit envious. And
yes,
we'll look forward to your return to South Florida here so we can all commiserate together. And be schwitzing like some rabbi in a temple without air conditioning on Yom Kippur. Thanks, Brad. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Have a good week, guys.
All right. Schwitzing rabbi is always a little bit of a turnoff to the occasion. Sweat rolling off like it was Rudy Giuliani at that press conference. What did you really have there, Rudy, in terms of evidence? Nothing? Well, yeah, I kind of made some of this stuff up. All right. That was fun today. I had a good time. I hope everybody else did. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today. And I believe we're on home turf today.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, we won't get those shows where Mayo, challenges the Guinness people with how much he can, kind of consume in one bite are amazing, are they not? But lately, he's been, really flirting with danger. Has he? He's been borderline Heimlich maneuver on a couple of those bites that he's taken. What was that at the track the other day? What was it he was downing? Was it on a burger or something? What did he have there?
Yeah, I don't think he had
some kind of thing. He swallowed it.
An omelet. He didn't go crazy at the track.
Oh no, the track he was okay. The day before with that
Rice Krispie treat that was two full Rice Krispie treats with fudge in the middle and fudge on the top.
I heard bones cracking.
Ate it in one bite and was like, "What are you doing?"
I thought he broke his jaw. I really did.
He really it was this.
Like he got hit by Sonny Liston.
Like at least his burger he could squish.
It sounded that way, yeah. Teeth were flying everywhere.
It's like, what the fuck, man?
It was like the Brashears hit in hockey. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Mayo was gambling like a degenerate all weekend long. Plus, he was on TV. He was featured on some Caribbean television.
He was. I love that he was gambling all weekend long, had a good gambling weekend, and still was only up $15.
Yeah. First winning session, man. I came from the grave, too. I was stuck, an enormous amount of money by my standards. And Andy was like, hey, you'll come back. And I'm like, this is death, Andy. I'm telling you. I wish I had never turned 72 because it looks to me like that's it. Although I do have some optimism about hitting the $900 million Powerball ticket tonight. You get some, Lubie. I'll cut you $1 million.
Shirley was talking about it, and it's like we've never had any luck.
No, I have zero luck in this.
Times, like
I'm probably stuck, several dimes betting Powerball over the years. I mean, it's not like I invest a lot of money in it, but I, like everybody else, I get a little bit of an erection every time I see like 500 million. That I start buying in at about 200 million. No,
yes.
I don't catch every one because I don't even know what days they have the drawing. But now I do. Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. It's weird. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's like some school lunch schedule, right? Okay, we're gonna have, for those of you that are unfortunate enough to be attending school on Saturday, you're gonna be eating the same shit that you ate, the sloppy Joe from Monday and Wednesday. So I'm in tonight, but I take the random quick pick drawing that they give you at Publix, which I know there's no chance to win.
No.
Some hillbilly in Tuscaloosa is going to end up with this, and then they'll be, providing Nick Saban with more name, image, and likeness money into perpetuity. That'll be in the will. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appeal yourself off to Matt Monday, getting us started this week. And we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.